Imagine building an entire ocean-going cargo ship in just 42 days. Not 42 months. 42 days. During World War II, American shipyards achieved what seemed impossible, launching vessels faster than the enemy could sink them. This wasn't just about speed. It was about survival. The Liberty ship program revolutionized manufacturing and helped win the war before a single shot was fired on many battlefields. This is the story of how American ingenuity turned shipbuilding into an assembly line and changed warfare forever. In 1941, Britain was starving. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic like wolves, sending hundreds of Allied merchant ships to the ocean floor. Every torpedo that found its mark meant fewer supplies reaching Europe. Fewer tanks, fewer bullets, less food. The mathematics were brutal and simple. Britain needed ships faster than Germany could destroy them, or the island nation would fall. Traditional shipbuilding methods took nearly a year to complete a single vessel. At that pace, the Allies were losing the logistics war. America needed a miracle. What they got was something better. Kaiser was a construction magnate who had never built a ship in his life. They got Henry Kaiser and a revolutionary idea. His competitors mocked him. The old guard of shipbuilders dismissed his proposals as fantasies from an outsider who didn't understand their craft. But Kaiser understood something they didn't. He understood mass production. He had built dams and highways using prefabrication and systematic efficiency. He looked at shipbuilding and saw an industry trapped in the 19th century, where craftsmen hand-riveted every joint and each vessel was essentially custom-built. Kaiser proposed treating ships like automobiles. Build components in factories across the country, transport them to shipyards, launch them, weld them together, repeat. The maritime establishment resisted. Riveting had built ships for generations. Why change? But Kaiser had allies in Washington who understood desperation. The Maritime Commission awarded him contracts. He built shipyards in Richmond, California, practically overnight. Tens of thousands of workers flooded into these yards. Many had never seen the ocean, let alone built a ship. They were farmers, teachers, shopkeepers. Women joined the workforce in unprecedented numbers, becoming welders, crane operators, and foremen. These weren't traditional shipbuilders. They were exactly what Kaiser needed. People unburdened by the old ways of doing things. The Liberty ship design itself was deliberately simple. Based on a British tramp steamer design, these vessels weren't beautiful. They were functional. 441 feet long, 57 feet wide, capable of carrying over 9,000 tons of cargo. More importantly, the design was standardized. Every Liberty ship was essentially identical, which meant every worker could specialize in one task and perfect it. Prefabrication was the key innovation. Instead of building a ship from the keel up in one location, entire sections were constructed separately. Bow sections in one area, stern sections in another, deck houses built completely on land, engine rooms assembled as units. These massive sections, some weighing hundreds of tons, were then lifted by enormous cranes and welded into place. Welding itself was revolutionary. Traditional ships used millions of rivets, each hammered in by hand. Riveting was slow, labor-intensive, and created weak points. Welding fused metal together, creating stronger joints with far fewer workers. Kaiser's yards trained thousands of people in welding techniques in just weeks. Rosie the Riveter became an icon. But ironically, welders were replacing riveters. The symbolism mattered less than the results. Ships that would have taken a year now took months, then weeks. The shipyards competed against each other, driving times lower and lower. The records became legendary. In November 1942, Kaiser's Richmond Yard No. 2 assembled the Robert E. Peary in just 7 days and 15 hours from keel laying to launch. 7 days. It was a publicity stunt, planned meticulously with extra workers and materials staged in advance, but it proved what was possible. The ship was fully functional and served throughout the war. The average construction time dropped to 42 days. Some yards pushed it even lower. At peak production in 1943, American shipyards were launching 3 Liberty ships every day. 3 complete ocean-going vessels. Every single day. The numbers are staggering. Between 1941 and 1945, American shipyards built 2,710 Liberty ships. They carried 75% of all cargo shipped during the war. Tanks to North Africa, ammunition to Britain, food to the Soviet Union, aircraft to the Pacific. Every front, every battle, every soldier depended on these unglamorous workhorses. The Liberty ships didn't fight battles directly, but they won the logistics war. Germany simply couldn't sink ships faster than America built them. The equation that threatened Britain in 1941 reversed completely. The human cost of this achievement was substantial. Shipyard work was dangerous. Heavy equipment, massive steel sections, height, welding fires, all created hazards. Workers died in industrial accidents. The pressure to maintain speed sometimes led to shortcuts. Early Liberty ships had a disturbing tendency to crack, sometimes catastrophically. The hulls would literally split in cold water. Engineers eventually traced this to brittle fractures propagating from welded joints. The solution involved design modifications and better welding procedures, but not before several ships broke apart at sea. The program pushed technology and workers to their absolute limits. Yet the workers persevered. Shipyard communities developed intense pride. Workers wore their yard badges like medals. Competitions between yards weren't just corporate gimmicks, but genuine sources of identity. Night shifts and day shifts worked around the clock. The yards never stopped. Sparks from thousands of welding torches lit the night sky. The sound of construction, the smell of hot metal, the organized chaos of modern mass production. This became the American home front. While soldiers fought overseas, shipyard workers fought the production war at home. The Liberty Ship program transformed American manufacturing. The techniques developed in these yards spread to other industries. Prefabrication, systematic workflow, specialized labor, quality control systems. These innovations outlived the war. Kaiser himself became one of the wealthiest men in America, building post-war industries on wartime lessons. The shipyard workers, many of them women, proved that traditional barriers to employment were artificial. Rosie could weld as well as any man. These social changes rippled through post-war society. After the war ended, the Liberty ships faced an uncertain future. Thousands of vessels suddenly had no cargo to carry. Many were mothballed in vast reserve fleets. Some were scrapped. Others found new lives as commercial freighters. A few were converted into other uses: museums, breakwaters, training ships. The SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien survive today as floating museums, maintained by volunteers who keep the legacy alive. You can still tour these vessels, walk their decks, and see the welded seams that were once so revolutionary. The Liberty Ship program proved that logistics wins wars. Nazi Germany had formidable tanks and submarines. Imperial Japan had carrier strike forces and fanatical determination. But America had shipyards that could replace losses faster than enemies could inflict them. This industrial might, more than any single weapon, determined the war's outcome. The atomic bomb ended the war suddenly, but the Liberty ships ensured America could fight long enough to develop that bomb. They carried the uranium. They transported the scientists' equipment. They sustained the armies that kept pressure on all fronts. Today, we live in a world shaped by what those shipyards accomplished. Modern manufacturing owes enormous debts to Kaiser's innovations: supply chain management, just-in-time production, modular construction. These concepts trace their lineage back to those wartime yards where ordinary Americans built ships at impossible speeds. The Liberty ships themselves may be gone, scrapped decades ago, but their legacy endures. They remind us that American strength isn't just military power. It's the ability to organize, innovate, and outproduce any challenger. In 42 days, you can build a ship. In 4 years, you can build an arsenal that changes history. The Liberty ships didn't just win World War II. They defined what American industrial power could achieve when the stakes demanded nothing less than the impossible.